Hi, I'm Kai. I'm the community book distributor over here at Treehouse Books. And for this month's pick for Book of the Month, I chose We Are Not Broken by George M. Johnson. This is their second book. The first one is titled All Boys Aren't Blue, and that is more of a memoir spanning across like their entire childhood, as just detailing their experience growing up as a young Black queer boy in New Jersey. And I believe we even go a little bit into the college years with that memoir, beginning when they're very, very young and spending time with their siblings and such, and specifically their grandmother. Their sophomore memoir novel, it was just incredible. I picked it as this month's pick because it was probably my favorite book last year. I read it in November, and I typically don't really read too much nonfiction. My interest is more in fiction, but um, once I picked this up for a nonfiction November, that's what we call it in the bookish world, I immediately started crying. It was just like happy tears, tender tears, warm, loving tears, because it is just from the beginning such a heartfelt offering. And I feel very, very grateful that George M. Johnson, that they offered this writing to us, such a lovely story to share. So a little bit about the book. Their second memoir is more centered around their grandmother, who them and all their cousins called Nanny. So Nanny was the loving, affectionate, bigger than life matriarch of their family. That Nanny's house is where all the family gathered for holidays, where the kids love to spend time on the weekends, etc. Um, and unfortunately, she recently passed. I think George M. Johnson kind of wrote this as an offering to her memory. And I think it really relates to the title, We Are Not Broken, because although their nanny has passed, such a core person in the entire family's life, they, committed to carrying on her legacy and holding on to one another, despite the fact that this central figure is no longer with us physically. Um, and going off into kind of like staying connected, it was very important for Nanny that all her boys stayed connected. She did have one granddaughter, um, who was a lot younger than the first cousins, so she primarily knew all of her grandsons. But it was super important that they all took care of each other and stayed connected throughout the years. So George included letters written by their cousins to Nanny in the book. And it was also just really beautiful because they can't help but talk about one another when they talk about her. And you just see how lovely it is that they are all still so connected, and primarily through her, that I think that they will always kind of have this strong bond, because they not only do they love each other, but they want to do it for their grandmother to continue on with her legacy. I'll read the synopsis. It's a pretty brief, just to get a wider idea of what the book is about. So it reads, this is the vibrant story of George, Garrett, Raul, and Rasul, four children raised by Nanny, their fiercely devoted grandmother. The boys hold one another close through memorable moments at the family barbershop, early brushes with racism, sibling spats, whoopings, and first loves and losses. And with Nanny at their center, they are never broken. Chapter by chapter, best-selling author and activist George M. Johnson tenderly captures the unique experience of growing up Black in America, and their rich storytelling is interspersed with touching letters from the grandchildren that Nanny paid tribute to. With touching letters from the grandchildren that pay tribute to Nanny. Celebrating Black boyhood, brotherhood, and matriarchal love, the striking memoir is destined to become a modern classic of emerging adulthood. So, yeah, I think my favorite part of the book is definitely, I think the combination of the wonderful, like this being centered around such a wonderful matriarch, but it's coming from a beautiful brotherhood that the matriarch helped to create, and seeing those things work together in the author's life is really, really beautiful. Because Nanny was such a central figure, we get a glimpse into how all the boys saw their grandmother and how important she was to them. But we also don't get a lot of stories about Black brotherhood, especially like honestly, really, without any conditions, but I think particularly when they're this young, and then to see through their emergence into adulthood is also really beautiful, and we need more stories like that. I think that's also why I like their first book, All Boys Aren't Blue, so much, because it's really a family story. It's so much bigger than George M. Johnson themselves. I would also say that um it's such an honest story that they don't hold back in telling the things that are less than appealing, or that even like they admitted that they were concerned that the family might think that they were sharing too much, but it was important that they showed this part of the story, and it's just so essential in showing a complete story of Black boyhood. I think that's really beautiful and really powerful. I wasn't surprised that I liked either novel, despite the fact that they are nonfiction. Personally, when I do read fiction, I really, really love family sagas that aren't super plot heavy. So things that are more character driven, where we're really taking a look at the individuals, why they are, how they are, who made them this way, the communities around them that helped to contribute to who they are today. So it makes a lot of sense to me why I would love a book like this so much. Yeah, I like themes of family across genre is probably going to attract me to any sort of book. But yeah, if you're somebody who's interested in family sagas, Black boyhood, brotherhood, Black matriarchs, I think this is an absolutely wonderful read. It is such a tender offering that George M. Johnson has given us, and I think anybody who reads it will come out also loving their nanny, and I think that's really, really beautiful. To close out, the author wrote a nannyism, a saying or a teaching that she used to say to the boys all the time when they were growing up, at the top of every chapter, and I just tagged 6 of my favorites, so I wanted to read some of these nannyisms. They set the themes for the chapter, so they kind of set the theme for the book. So if any of these stick out to you, you should definitely pick up this book. They are available at Treehouse while supplies last. So the first one, the chapter title is called Barbershop Talk, and the nannyism is, "It's a sad rabbit that's only got one hole." The next, chapter 7, titled Did We Kill Matt? The nannyism, "Y'all are all y'all got." The third one, from chapter 9, titled What Happened to the Yams? The nannyism is, "If you use measuring cups, your food will taste measured. Taste your food while you cook and adjust it accordingly." The fourth one is from chapter 10, entitled Wedding Bells and Brawls. The nannyism is, "Once you put the trash on the curb, you don't go back and get it." I like that one, it's my favorite. And chapter 12, titled All Good Things Must Come to an End. The nannyism is, "It ain't harmony if y'all all sing in the same note. The harmony is in the difference." So please, please, please pick up this book. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. It is one of my absolutely favorite books, and I'm so happy that I had the opportunity to read it. I can't wait to see what else the author picks up. If you would like to talk bookish things, my personal bookstagram is at It's the Books for Me, with a period after it's. I love talking bookish things. Again, pick this up at Treehouse, and I'll see you later.